Indiana, it's fitting that we meet today on the Mall of the American Legion, surrounded by monuments to our nation's heroes. Because on this day, 25 years ago, the Marine barracks in Beirut were bombed. 241 Americans laid down their lives for this country and for the peace they were there to protect. So we revere their service and we honor their sacrifice, and we keep their families in our prayers. We will never forget them. Indiana, in just 12 days, you have the chance to elect your next president. You'll have the chance to bring the change we need to Washington. You'll have the chance to select the next commander-in-chief and make sure that we are using our military wisely. That's the good news. But we're going to have to work. We're going to have to struggle. We're going to have to fight for every single one of those 12 days to move our country in a new direction. It's not going to be easy, but I'm hopeful about the outcome. We were thrilled this weekend when a great American statesman, General Colin Powell, joined our cause. But we cannot let up, and we won't, because one of the things we know is that change never comes without a fight. In the final days of the campaign, the say anything, do anything politics often takes over. We've seen it before. We're seeing it again right now. Some of the ugly phone calls, the misleading mail and TV ads, the careless, outrageous comments, all aimed at keeping us from working together, all aimed at stopping change. Well, what we need now is not misleading charges or divisive attacks. What we need is honest leadership. What we need is real change. What we need is a commitment to middle-class families. What we need is to fix our healthcare system and our energy system and make our schools work for every young child in America. And that's why I'm running for president of the United States. Now more than ever, this campaign has to be about the problems facing the American people, because this is a moment of great uncertainty for America. We're facing the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The Dow plummeted again yesterday, threatening job security and retirement security and economic security for millions of ordinary Americans. Indiana lost 4,500 manufacturing jobs in September alone. Just today, we learned that more and more Americans are filing for unemployment. Home values are falling, foreclosures are rising, wages are shrinking, and the costs of health care and tuition have never been higher. That's what this election's about, because John McCain and I have real differences about how to get us out of this economic mess. You see, Senator McCain thinks the economic policies of George W. Bush were just right for America. In the Senate, he's voted with George Bush 90% of the time. He said earlier this year that we've made great progress over the last 8 years. And while Senator McCain says now that he's different from George Bush, you sure couldn't tell by the policies he's proposing. Just yesterday, John McCain strongly defended the Bush policy of lavishing tax cuts on corporations, including those that ship American jobs overseas. He made kind of a strange argument that the best way to stop companies from shipping jobs overseas is to give more tax cuts to companies that are shipping jobs overseas. More tax cuts for jobs outsourcing. That's what Senator McCain proposed as his answer to outsourcing. He said that's, quote, simple fundamental economics. Well, Indiana, my opponent may call that fundamental economics, but we know that's just another name for Wall Street first, Main Street last. That's the kind of economic philosophy we've had for the past 8 years, and that's fundamentally wrong. If Senator McCain wants to defend tax breaks for companies that ship jobs overseas, that's his choice. But I say let's end tax cuts for companies that ship jobs overseas. Give them to companies that are investing right here in Indiana, right here in the United States of America. If he wants to defend free trade agreements designed to protect the profits of big corporations and a trade policy that lets countries like China tilt the playing field against our workers, that's up to him. But I say we need a trade policy that protects the dreams of hard-working Americans. If he wants to defend a tax code that's more than 10,000 pages long, filled with loopholes written in by corporate lobbyists, like the ones running his campaign, he's got every right. He has every right to defend offshore tax havens that let companies avoid paying taxes here in America. But I say it's time to close corporate loopholes, shut offshore tax havens, and restore balance and fairness to our tax code. You know, there's a building in the Cayman Islands that supposedly houses 18,000 corporations. Think about that. That's either the biggest building or the biggest tax scam in the world. I think we know which one it is. That's the system my opponent defends. That's the system he wants to preserve. He wants to keep on putting corporations ahead of workers. I see some folks here, sheet metal workers. I heard your interview this morning. You guys sounded great. I see some carpenters up here, carpenters for Obama. I see some teachers out here for America. I see Teamsters for America. Who's looking out for steel workers? Who's fighting for carpenters? Who's fighting for teachers? Who's fighting for Teamsters? That's the president I want to be. Let me tell you something, Indiana. We've tried it John McCain's way. We've tried it George Bush's way. And we're here to say enough is enough. We can't afford 4 more years of their fundamental economics. That's why I'm running for president of the United States, to get an economics that works for you. You see, we have a different notion of fundamental economics. Where I come from, there's nothing more fundamental than a good-paying job. There's nothing more fundamental than being able to pay your health care bills, put your children through college, or retire with dignity and security and respect. There's nothing more fundamental than the American dream, and that's the dream we can reclaim if you stand with me on November 4th. I know we can do this, Indiana. I know we can steer ourselves out of this crisis because I believe in you. I believe in the American people. We're the United States of America. We're a nation that's faced down war and depression, great challenges and great threats. And at each and every moment, we have always risen to meet these challenges, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans, with resolve and with confidence and with that fundamental belief that here in America, our destiny is not written for us, it's written by us. We decide our futures. That's who we are.
There you have Barack Obama in Indianapolis.